Good day, everyone. I am Mrs. Lawa Anita. Thank you all for having me here today to speak to you. Today, we'll be talking on the topic necessity of the fine and the gross motor skill. First of all, what is the fine motor skill? The fine motor skill are the ability to perform activities that requires the hand and the eyes coordination. These are activities a child do using their hands or finger to do. These activities include picking of beans, shredding of beets, dressing and feeding, reaching when a child needs to reach to get something, grabbing and manipulating objects with your hands. So these activities, most of our children that has ADHD, that has autism, that has cerebral palsy, that has Down syndrome, they find it very difficult to do. So when your child have any of these syndromes and they have issues with these activities, they can't hold their pencil to write, you don't just beat the child, but you know that the child actually is lacking something. The child has issues with his fine motor skill. The fine motor skill also involves the use of your visual motor skill. The visual motor skill is the use of the eyes. So when the child has issues with the use of his eyes, he lacks concentration. Most of our children that has autism especially and ADHD, they lack concentration. You see that the child is not focused, the child is not able to copy from the board, the child cannot hold the pencil and write from the board. The child is having issues, any little noise the child is distracted. So that child also needs an occupational therapist to work on him. The child is also lacking the fine motor skill. That is why he's having that issue. Now, what is the gross motor skill? The gross motor skill refers to the use of large muscles. This involves exercise, like doing exercise with your child at every given time to help the muscles, especially children with cerebral palsy. Most of them have issues with their large muscles. Then we also have what we call the tummy time. The tummy time means laying your child on the floor using the stomach. You put the child down and the child's stomach is on the floor. That child is lying down on the floor with the stomach down on the floor. This exercise helps postural control and strength to provide stability for the hand and fingers rolling over. So when you put your child on the floor, it helps what the posture of that child. You may not notice it that I'm doing something with my child, but when you continue doing it every day, you notice you begin to build the child's what postural muscles and the postural control and strengthen the child. It will help the child's hands and finger too while lying down, because when the child wants to get up, there are some muscles that needs to be at work when you are standing up after laying the child down. Those activities are very important. Also, the gross motor skill also helps the child in rolling. See, most of our children, they don't know how to roll. You lie them down, they are not rolling, especially children with CP, with cerebral palsy, they don't roll. You need to take note of your child. Is my child rolling properly? Some children has autism and partial cerebral palsy, so we should be careful. Don't feel, oh, my child is autistic so I should not check. Please check if your child can roll properly, check if your child can sit up properly, check if your child is able to crawl at the right time when he's supposed to crawl. As a child, did the child crawl? Is my child able to use his fingers properly? Is he able to use his hands properly? These are very important for us to know. Lastly, we'll be going on how to improve my child's fine motor skill. How do you improve your child's fine motor skill? First of all, we will have to meet the occupational therapy. The occupational therapy provides a comprehensive examination of the child's strength, balance, coordination, and fine motor skill. So the occupational therapist will be the one to know if your child's concentration level is okay, if your child's strength and ability to do work is proper, if he is writing properly. The occupational therapist will know. Secondly, we need for the gross motor skill, we need a physiotherapy. A physiotherapist will help in strengthening and balancing specific muscles for your child. So the physiotherapist will be the one to know, should the child use a weight bag? Should the child use a treadmill? So the physiotherapist will be the one to know the exact machine that will be used on your child, the exact equipment to be used on your child, so that the child can actually grow the proper muscles, the specific muscles he or she needs. Lastly, when your child has such issue, please don't take your child to oh, I don't want people to know that I have a special child. You leave your child indoor, or you take a child to an inclusive school. No, you need to be in a center, in a special center. Your child needs to be in a special center. When that child is in that specific center, and make sure when you before keeping your child there, be observant. Do they have an occupational therapist? Do they have a physiotherapist? If you really need your child to improve, you need to know what they will be doing with your child. Don't just drop your child in a special school and say, oh, my child is in a special school. No, be involved as the parents. Know who and who is coming to take your child. Is a physiotherapy there? Is an occupational therapy there? It is very important. Thank you very much for having me. This is where I'll draw my curtain on the topic necessity of the fine and gross motor skill. I remain Mrs. Lawa Anita.